We've got the electric equivalent of 201 horsepower. Oh, she chirps the tires! Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and today we're driving the 2020 Hyundai Kona Electric Ultimate. This one starts at $45,000, but the lower trim level starts at $37,000. Yes, we're starting to get into the world of affordable, normal people EVs. Thanks to the McGovern Auto Group, who invited me out to their Hyundai store in Brockton, Massachusetts, for letting me take this out for the day. And to be honest, I didn't know what I was going to film with this until I drove it, and then I realized I have to talk about it. I like this a lot. First of all, Hyundai styling has come a long way, and to be honest, we used to always say, as other manufacturers got more bland and boring over the years, oh, it looks like a Hyundai. Well, guess what? Hyundai looks really good now, and everybody else looks bland and boring. But let's take a look inside. This is the Ultimate, so it's got the leather, it's got some nice stuff in here. Ooh, it's a good place to be, but it is a small SUV. This is not a big boy. So although I'm 5'9", my Tinder might say 5'10", I've got room back here. It's not crazy though, so if you had kids and you were like really loading this up, if you're used to a larger SUV, this might not quite do it, but if you're used to like a Tiguan or something, this is definitely fine. I like the lighter leather just because it brightens up the cabin, and I think it makes it feel more spacious. Around back, no surprises back here. Pretty typical storage space as you'd expect. Under here, there's a little bit of room that if you wanted to secure some tools, like we've got our wheel locks, that's great. I don't know who's stealing wheels off a Kona. That seems very cruel. Steal them off an Accord like a normal thief. Around front, you've got some space in the doors for drinks, glove box, and then nice cavernous areas down here. You've got a 12-volt charger, USB, and in here, like an F-150 almost, your big center console compartment. But unlike almost every other EV on the market, this doesn't have a frunk. Yes, this is quite surprising, actually, when you come under here. It almost looks like an internal combustion engine. So if you are trying to take the baby step away from EVs and you're not quite ready to give up the view, well, I guess the Kona is right for you. But the way I see it, this is not a bad thing. Yes, you give up a little storage space because you don't have your little smuggler's box like you might have in an Audi e-tron. But the future of serviceability looks pretty good because I have access to things. Now, I don't know what these things are. I'm not an electrical engineer, I'm a mechanical engineer, and I'm not going to touch any of this because I will get zapped. But the way I look at this is if you start having failures of like heating systems, air conditioning, all that other kind of stuff, everything's right here. It's super accessible. So either you, an ambitious DIYer, or your indie shop will be able to work on this in the future. But you don't watch me for facts and figures and style. So let's go take it for a drive and see how she handles. Starting EVs always seems somewhat uneventful, especially on camera, but yeah, that's it. Nothing else happening. But it says we have a 260-mile range. Now, I've just driven it about 10 or 15 miles. It's supposed to have a 258-mile range, but that's promising. It's 43 degrees. It was colder earlier. Sorry I didn't get it out at 30, but that's okay. This car does have some cool tricks up its sleeve, though, because this one, as the Ultimate, has the HUD, the heads-up display. Little bit of theater with that. Check blind spots before changing the lanes. Will do. And you might be initially angered by the fact that this is an electric car with paddle shifters, but I want to show you something. This is the best implementation of paddle shifters in a non-ICE car that I've ever seen. This is the regeneration level. So when you go upshift on the right paddle, it coasts. I can lift off the throttle and it just coasts like a normal car. If I go regen 1, it gives me a little bit of resistance. Regen 2, more. Regen 3, it's like applying the brakes. So this is wonderful because I can very quickly change how much I'm braking. I don't have to go into some crazy menu to say, oh, I want one pedal driving. You can actually adjust how aggressive that one pedal driving is. We've got the electric equivalent of 201 horsepower. Oh, she chirps the tires. This is really quick. I think it's 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds, but it feels faster. It does. I mean, yes, it's a small SUV. This is not a sports car. So, but I'm Tedward. I have to put it into a corner and find out what happens. I dig it. You know what's funny is having the paddles, it like encourages me to to want to upshift, but obviously it's not going to do anything. So, like I said, this has a 252-mile range right now. What you'll notice, though, is when you turn on the HVAC system, watch that drop, 207, right? It's on, I've got heat, off, 252, on, 208, off, 252. That's nice that it tells you that. It sucks the reality that you lose so much range by using the heat or the HVAC system. But it's nice to know immediately rather than finding out slowly, right? Let's see the turning radius. Wonderful. Dare I say this is fun to drive? It's pulling the microphone out of my left ear. This thing scoots. All right, let's give these brakes a test. We know it's got regen, but we want to make sure it can actually... Oh, that's great! Hyundai, you've done it. An affordable EV crossover that's fun to drive. I'm a little confused here. To be honest, if we brought this out to an autocross and put it on some like sticky tires, this might hustle some actual sports cars. What? Like, all right, this is nuts. I swear to God, I'm not being that abusive. Like, I just leaned on it a little bit. So there's two things going on here. Number one, this is an electric vehicle. It has a lot of torque. Number two, most importantly, these are probably economy tires that are designed for longevity and high, miles per gallon, high efficiency. So yes, we're not chirping RE71Rs here, but we'll try to be a little nicer to it. For the record, though, this will chirp the tires. I think one of the big challenges for automakers getting into the EV game is NVH, that noise, vibration, and harshness, because you don't have an internal combustion engine covering up any of the rattles or the squeaks or anything, which means that they have to button down these cabins and these chassis really tightly to be appealing to a market. Think about it this way. If you've ever been to a therapist office and they have one of those white noise machines outside their door so you can't hear the person crying inside while you're in the waiting room, that's what an internal combustion engine does. It's that white noise machine. Some white noise machines sound really good, like Lamborghinis and Ferraris. Other white noise machines don't sound so good, like maybe some of BMW's new 4-cylinders. They're a little boring. But when you lose that white noise machine, suddenly you hear everything. You can hear the sobbing in the other room at the therapist's office. The same goes for a car. Now I'm just left with wind noise, which you've got to try to insulate to make it sound less prominent. Tire noise, which is a bigger problem because now you've got these economy tires that are probably more loud and hard than the sportier max performance tires that you put on other cars. And any rattle, anything that is not buttoned down properly in this car, ooh, you're going to hear it now. But so far, I'm genuinely impressed. Hyundai has put together a nice little package. Let's put her into sport mode. Oh yeah. And let's see how she handles an on-ramp. So in sport mode, it's automatically put me into level regeneration 1, I think. So when I lift off the throttle, it doesn't upset the car as much, which I like, because what you don't want is to accidentally lift all the weight off that rear end mid-corner when you're on the ragged edge. Bad things are going to happen. Ooh, nice compliant suspension. I know there's some bumps up here. I'm curious how she handles it. Like nothing. Plenty of torque to rocket us away. Oh yes. All right. This is capable. The nice thing about EVs is this instant torque. I don't have to wait for my engine to rev up to get the torque and power. Granted, we're only dealing with 200 horsepower, but to have access to it pretty much immediately, that's a beautiful thing. Hyundai has changed a lot over the last 10 years. They went from being a scrappy brand with somewhat subpar products, but with monster warranties to lure folks away from the Hondas and Toyotas, to being a genuine powerhouse in both style and quality. So I have to give it to Hyundai, because who knew they were going to become what they became? And if you've never driven a Hyundai before, I would recommend driving this Kona EV and the Veloster N to get your feet wet. That might actually change your mind about the brand if it's not something you've ever considered. But thank you so much to the guys here at McGovern Hyundai in Brockton, Massachusetts for letting me try out this brand new Kona EV. Definitely surprised me here. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. You've got to remember to turn these off too. The more we critique these cars, the more we demand good driving EVs, the better they're going to be, frankly. And I hope people speak with their wallets when it comes to EVs, because if all we buy are appliances, if all we buy are cars that are completely automated that get us from A to B, then that's what they'll make. But if people buy fun cars, if people still show these OEMs that the joy of driving is part of our lives and that it's something we don't want to give up, then I think they'll make more of them. So I know, look, I'm preaching to you from a crossover Hyundai EV. I get it. But the reality is, this is the beginning. We need to start immediately demanding good drivers.